Hello and welcome to the December Crafting a Christ Cake Club tutorial. This month we're working on our pennant flag here. So in your kit you should have your pennant flag. You should have 4 different sheets or different strips of the fabric, and then you'll need your little jute twine. You'll need the napkin that you'll be using for the design, and I'm going to be using the I'm Making Everything New napkin. And then some other things you'll want to grab is you're going to want to grab some Saran wrap, or you can use, I just have a Ziplock baggie here I like to keep handy. You'll need your pair of scissors, and then you will also need your Mod Podge, water, and a brush for this project, and I think that's it. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut all your strips of fabric. So what I found is going to work for this project is to cut it into 6-inch strips. So I'm going to move the layout here so that you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. But I actually ripped it into 6-inch strips. So I have a bunch of them done here now, but I'll show you how I did that. So let me just move this over here. So I just used the surface saver here, and what I did was just cut these each in the 6, and I actually did cut the whole bottom so that, and this is a preference, you don't have to, but I have most of my bottoms are straight. Oops, I'm doing the wrong way. Most of my bottoms are straight, and then the edges are ripped. But if you wanted a ripped bottom, you could just cut it partially and then rip it if you wanted a more jagged look. So then I just cut all those, and then this last one, you don't need the last little 1.5 inches. So I just cut that off so that they were all the same size. And then to get the ripped edges, what I actually did was just cut the tiniest little bit here, and then I just ripped this edge off. And sometimes it does that, so I'm glad it did that so that you could get an idea if it does that to you. You can just cut it on the other side and go from the other direction. Well, of course that one's giving me problems, so we'll just give it a little nip again. I actually didn't have that problem with any of the other ones, but this fabric doesn't want to do it as nice. The other ones tore really nicely, and it might just depend on the print and how much you go in. Like you might need to cut it in a little bit more. The other ones just tore really nice. I didn't have this issue at all. Okay, so we just have that little bit there, but it's not going to matter when you get them all lined up. So I'm just going to go a little bit more aggressively on the end to see if I can get it not to do that this time. No, this fabric just doesn't want to tear all the way down. And you can just pull some of the strings too. If you don't want it that aggressive, you can go through here and like just pull them. Now I'm wishing I would have done this one first for all the examples, because it really wasn't this hard on any of the other patterns. I wonder if it's just that one. It could be the direction that there we go. That's how the other ones tore. And then actually I'm saving these because I want to use them in like little bows. So just on this one, if you get, well, you have 4 different patterns, but if you have one that's like not working with you, just maybe cut it a little bit more aggressively. And that other side just went really nice. This one doesn't want to. All right, there we go. Try this one again. And these don't need to be perfect by minute. Oh, actually what we need to do too is we actually need to cut them in half too. So that you should get 2 strips from each of the 6-inch pieces that you have. And you don't have to have the frayed edges either. If you want to, if you just want the nice clean look, then just don't clip those. And then you can have like the nice edges. You could just cut it in half and you'd be good to go. Alright, See this one, that's how they all worked for me, was just like that. I didn't have all those issues that I had with that first one. All right, so I've got all of mine just kind of stacked up over here. So I have my 4 different patterns. And so we're gonna put those aside. And the next thing that we can do is get ready to do our flag. So we won't need the string yet. Well, actually we could just do that part next. Let's just go ahead and do it. Okay, so to make our string, or to make our little, what are you gonna call this little banner that's gonna go across, what we're gonna do is you're gonna take these and we're basically gonna tie them, we're gonna loop it around. And so the key is just to make sure that you do them all the same way. Oops. So we've got one on there. And then we want to rotate the patterns. So all I'm doing is I'm taking the string, and if you want to like anchor this to something, it might help us a little bit here. And then we're going to flip it through the loop, and you're going to want to go the same direction on all of these. And we can adjust these as we go. So basically you're kind of doing like a little, it almost looks like a little tie. And then you're going to go through and just keep changing your patterns. So I'm just going under the jute, and then I'm putting the tie through it, making a loop and putting it through it. And then you're just pulling it tight. And then you can slide them down. All right, so we did that one, that one. Let me do this one next. And then I just keep it so that they're facing the same way. So loop, the ties to the back, loop, through, and then pull it tight. So you're just going to keep repeating that pattern all the way through. Oops. Ties to the back. And then peg's leg. The key is to just keep putting them, if you have them laying in the same spot, then you can just keep coming through and grabbing the one that you need next, and it's in the right order. Once we get done with all of them, then we can go through and we can do, we can adjust the spacing and all of the things. right now we're looking at the back of it. When we flip it over to the front, this is what you're going to see. I'm going to turn my glue gun on as well because we are going to want to anchor this. Oops, once we get it ready to go. All right, we've got one more of each one, or two more of each one. That's a lot of strings. Alright, and now we have our last one here. Okay, so we will probably spread this out a little bit as we get our design done. But basically, this is what you're going to want to have here. These are nice little kind of raggedy banner there. And if you don't like some of these extra strings and stuff, you can go through and cut some of them off. All right, so we're gonna put that little banner aside. We'll need that. And we're gonna go ahead and work on our flag now. So for this particular flag, I chose this napkin. And because it has a really nice border around it already, I'm actually gonna cut the napkin because I'm gonna just work around that border. So if you haven't worked with our napkins before, we do custom print all our own designs. And so we're only able to print at the front, on the front, because we do get these printed in the US. Instead of going overseas. So that's why it's just on the front. But first I'm gonna cut it down so I'm not working with so much. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'll get this out of the way so I don't accidentally cut it. I'm actually just gonna cut right along that black line. So I'm gonna use the line that's on the design as my line. And if you want to go just a little bit, if you're using this one, you could go just a little bit outside of it too, because it is just going to blend into the flag. So I will cut around it, and then this design does have rounded corners. So I'm going to, I'll cut those rounded corners after I get it all the way cut out here. I'm just going slightly outside the black line. I was kind of going on the black line, but it's a little bit easier if we just go slightly outside. Again, it's going to fade into the canvas, so we don't have to worry about that. See, it's separating right there, which is good. I am going to use this corner to pull it, but I'm just going to trim these little corners just so slightly. The corners are rounded on the border. There we go. And then the other thing we're going to want to grab is our parchment paper, and that's because we're working with canvas. Now, you do have the mat. I have the surface saver, so the mat is going to will protect my surface. Basically, what I'm wanting this is I don't want my canvas, because we're still going to be doing some stuff to it. I don't want it sticking to the mat or getting Mod Podge all over the mat. So I'm just using that so that I can actually move this someplace else to dry after I'm done. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to separate our layers. So we only need the top layer of this napkin. The napkins are 3-ply. So how you're gonna know you got the right ply is this one should be almost see-through, and then you'll probably see some ink or some of the print on this side we're pulling off. And that's how you know you did get the top layer. So then we need to figure out where we're gonna put the design on here. So I am gonna use my surface saver to line some things up so I know I can get it centered. And then the other thing is we're gonna wanna have it far enough down that my banner isn't covering the napkin. So I think if we do it right there, we're good. So I've kind of lined it up, the points here, and I'm probably just going to line the napkin up with these points as best I can. Okay, so this is where we're gonna decoupage it. I am gonna use a little bit bigger brush because this is a bigger surface. And I'm just gonna put some of my Mod Podge here in my little mason jar lid so that I can apply it. Now, once you have it centered, what I like to do is leave it centered and then work the Mod Podge. I'll do one side and then the other. Now, whenever you're working with canvas, it is a little bit, I call it kind of thirsty, where it's gonna really suck up the Mod Podge. So we're gonna have to be a little bit generous with it. So I'm just gonna work a little bit at a time, and I'm gonna light fingers over it so that I'm not covering more than I need to with the Mod Podge. I'm probably gonna need more than that. I'm usually really heavy-handed with the Mod Podge, so I tried to start not so heavy. But I'm just trying to keep it only to where the napkin is. And I'm going to keep lightly working out. All right, and I went a little bit over on this side, but it's fine. So again, light feathers. And we're going to come up in the top here. And just get it down. I don't know if I have that corner down or not. Ooh, this one's not down. Now you could definitely use the iron-on method for this. That would probably be my preferred method, but I just want to be respectful. If someone does not have an iron, then this is the way that you would do it. When we do our live crafting event in the group, I will probably demonstrate the iron-on method. Now we're just working the other side. I'm going to just move this so that I can work towards my preferred hand here. And we're just light feathers. And if you have like a little bit of bubbling or wrinkling, don't worry about it yet. This is what the Saran wrap is for, and we're gonna rework those. You just don't want to work it too much because you can overwork the ink and it will smear or it can tear on you if you overwork it while it's wet with the Mod Podge. So just working little sections at a time. Like feathers. And I think we're down to the edges here. I'm going to go over that after. So now we're going to take our Saran wrap or our Ziploc bag, and this is where you can go through and just make sure you're not pushing it all around. You just kind of want to work from the center out, and you're just going to like smooth it. We're just smoothing it. We're not going back and forth. And then we just need to carefully take it off there. And then you can go over the top gently. I'm just kind of getting these edges because I had a few edges that weren't down. Again, you want to be ever so careful. You can see right here, I'll try and show it. It tried to lift up on me just a little bit there. That part is too, right here. The napkin actually tore just the teeniest bit, but I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm gonna just leave it down. And then I'm only just going and making sure that the edges of this are completely down. Now what you can do when you're done, again, if you do have an iron, you can let this dry and then you can go over it with the iron if you want like 100% flat, no bubbles. You can do that after it's dry. So I'm just gonna hit this with the heat gun a little bit so that I don't mess with it. I don't want to ruin anything when I'm putting the banner on. So now we need a little bit. I can tell right here. Just got some edges that were coming up. Just want to make sure that's dry. Okay, and so for the next part, we're going to go ahead and put our little fabric banner on here. So there's a couple ways that you can do it. You could just glue it. I'm actually just going to go around, and similar to the way that this knot is tied, I am just going to tie a knot on it. And then I will make it a double knot. So you can just scoot your fabric to the over so that you can get more string, or leave yourself more string on one side. This side I didn't leave a whole lot of string. Okay, and then we can tie it on the other side as well. So the dowel and the fabric, they do slide. So that's why I suggested just having the heat gun available there, because what I'm going to actually do once I get this tied is I'm going to tack both of these on the back so that they stay kind of where I want them. Alright, so I'm just going to do this the other way because I can only tie a knot one way evidently. We're gonna get that one side. There we go. And you can adjust here, like how do you want the banner straight across? Do you want it hanging down a little bit? I think I'm gonna leave mine pretty much like that. I like that. You can clip any of the strings that you don't like. All right, and then on the back side of it, make sure here, this is where you can go through and adjust all this to where you want it. So I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to tack these with some glue so that this doesn't slide all over the place anymore. Excuse me. So I'm going to just put right on the back there. And then I'm just going to grab one of my and this is going to help it so that the string doesn't, I don't have the dowel sliding out, and then also everything stays where I want it. So I'm basically gluing both strings, the one that's hanging it and the one I just tied, all in the same spot to the wood. And then that's going to keep everything in its place. All right, and from there, the last thing that you're going to want to do is just adjust if you need to do any adjusting of your little flags to spread them out, like if they all ended up in one spot, or you want them more towards, or like here, I've got some little strings that are hanging down. Give it little haircuts if you have like any of that. And we'll go back to this view. So there we have our completed little flag. So cute. So if you, when you do complete your project, make sure if you're putting it on social media, you want to hashtag @ChristianCraftPaper. For those of you that are members in the group, we always love seeing your finished projects because everybody is going to get different fabric. Everyone's going to pick a different napkin to make it your own. So that's how easy it is to complete this month's project. And so until next time, happy crafting!